Hello, this is Bill. Welcome back. In this video, you'll learn how to load text into a dynamic text field, and then we'll add some buttons to allow you to scroll up and down within the dynamic text field. Let's take a look at what we'll create in this video before I actually play it. And essentially what we'll be creating is this rectangle here, which is a dynamic text field. And that's going to be allowing us to read information from another file and insert it right there. We'll then create some buttons over here in the shape of triangles that will allow us to scroll up and down within the text field. I've also gone ahead and inserted techvideos.com and some navigation buttons. The only reason I've done that is to give this kind of a complete project look. Well, at this point, let's go ahead and I'm going to come up here and go to Control, Test Movie. And what we'll find is it is reading that information from that other file, inserting it into this dynamic text field, and I've got some navigation buttons over here, which will allow me to scroll down one line at a time, or possibly up one line at a time. Well, now that we know what we want to create, I'll go ahead and close my Flash movie, and I'll close my Flash file, and at this point I'll create a new Flash file using ActionScript 2.0. Well, the first thing I'm going to do is come up here to File. I'm going to come to Import, and I'm going to go Import to Stage, and I'm going to simply highlight this file here called techvideos.gif and open that up and import that right to the stage. And again, this hopefully is going to give this more of a complete project look here. Okay, at this point I'm going to double click on Layer 1, and I'm going to call this my background, and I'll hit Enter. And while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and unlock this layer. And then I'm going to come right over here, press on my Insert Layer button, and I'm going to insert another layer, and this one is going to be called Dynamic _ Text. I can call it whatever one. I'm just going to call that Dynamic Text here, though. Okay, on this layer, I'm going to insert my Dynamic Text field, and to do that, I'll press on my Text tool, and I've already got that set to Dynamic Text. I'll show you in a second how I did that, and I'll come along down here on my stage, and I'm just going to create out a text box. Okay, at this point I'll go ahead and use my selection tool, and I'll simply move this on down just a little bit here. Okay, at this point let me hit Control F3 to open up my properties window, and here is, if I just press on my type tool or my text tool here, I can see I had already changed this to dynamic text. Typically in the past we've been working with static text, and this is the first time we've worked with dynamic text. Okay, I've got this set to Arial. My font size is 16 point. My text will be in black. I'm going to give this the name Content. And very important over here, the variable name, I'm going to also give that the name Content. And I'll tell you what, I'll leave this as a single line here momentarily, then later on I'll come back and adjust that. And notice I've also got this little button checked, and that's going to render my file, my external file, as HTML. And at this point I'll go ahead and close my property window, Control F3. Okay, at this point I'm going to come along, I'm going to come up here and press on my Insert Layer button. I'll come along and double click, and I'm going to give this the name Actions. And I'll press Enter. And this Actions is what's going to read that external file and place it right into this dynamic text field. Well, how am I going to do that? I'm going to come up here to a window, and I'm going to come down to Actions. And let me go ahead and maybe I'll get this back to the way you initially would see it, and that would be press on Global Functions. I'd then press on Browser Network. I'd come down to Load Variables, and I would double click on that, and that will pop this up right over here. Okay, the URL, you most likely would just simply type in something like include.txt or whatever the name of your external file was. If this was on a website, you could possibly even maybe go something like ... for the parent, type in directory name, and possibly then again that file name. Mine is a little different here. I haven't saved this file, and I know where it is. It's right here on my C drive, so I'm just going to go ahead and put c:\temp/include.txt. But again, you would probably, if you store this in the same file as your Flash file is stored, you can just place include.txt or whatever the name of your file was. Notice that's in double quotes, then I'm going to go ahead and type the word this. At this point I'll go ahead and close this, and now before I run my movie I need to show you how to modify my external file, and to do that I'm going to open up Windows Explorer, and I've already got that set to c:\temp, and here's my file include.txt. And all I need to do is come along, and I gave mine the variable name Content, so I'm going to place that before the text. Okay, at this point I'll go ahead and hit File, I'll hit Save, I'll go ahead and close this file in Notepad, and I'll minimize my browser, or minimize Window Explorer there. Okay, at this point I'm going to go ahead and try this. I'll come up here to go to Control, and I'll go to Test Movie. And there we go. We're now reading that information from that external file, placing it right here. Notice this is on one line, and if I wanted that to go multiple lines, I would simply highlight it. I'll press Control F3 to open up my property window, and rather than being a single line, I'll change that to multi-line. And at this point I'll hit Control F3 again, and I'll come up and test my movie. And now that information should, sure enough, is displayed on multiple lines. I'm going to go ahead and put a border around this text, dynamic text field, before I forget. So let me go ahead and close this. I'll open up my properties window, Control F3, and right here I'm going to press on this little icon, which will place a border the next time I run this. Okay, Control F3 to close. Okay, at this point we're now ready to insert some triangles or some navigation buttons to allow me to scroll up and down through my text. Well, to do that, I'm going to first of all come right over here. I'm going to press on the Insert Layer icon. I'm going to double click, and I'm going to give it the name Buttons. Okay, at this point I'm going to open up my library. To do that, I'll come here to Window, Library, and all I'm going to do is come right down here, press on this little symbol here, my new symbol, create new symbol icon, and that's going to allow me to create a new button. And I'll call my first one I'll call it my Down button. And I'll go ahead and press OK, and I can see before I do that, make sure it's a type button, and I'll go ahead and press OK. Let me go ahead and now use my Zoom tool one time, and at this point I'll go ahead and use my Line tool, and I'll see if I can create a little triangle here pretty quickly. Just create a little line going across, a line coming down, and another line coming down. And I believe that was filled with red, so I'll go ahead and press on my fill color. I'll change that to red, place on my paint bucket, and fill that a shade of red there. Okay, at this point I'm not going to worry about any rollovers or animated rollovers or drop shadows, etc. I'm just going to simply come over here to my Over button and have it have the exact same thing. So to do that, I'm going to insert a keyframe, and the keyboard shortcut there is F6, or I can go to Insert Timeline and Keyframe. And on the down button, again, I'll just press F6 here. Okay, at this point I'm ready to insert this button onto my scene, and to do that I'm on my buttons layer here, and I'm simply drag my down button onto my stage. And at this point I'll go ahead and close my library, and I'll use my selection tool, and let me go ahead and drag this off to the right here a little bit. Okay, at this point I now want to go ahead and work with my down button so that when I press on it, it actually scrolls down one line. Well, to do that, I'm going to come right back up to my window, and I'm going to go to Actions. And again, maybe I'll go ahead and get this back to its kind of default state. I'm going to go ahead and press on Global Functions. Then I'm going to come along and press on Movie Clip Control. And I'm going to press on On. Actually, I'm going to double click on On. And then I'm going to double click on Release. At which point I'm going to come after this little curly bracket. I'll press the Enter key, and I'm just going to type content, that was the name of my variable for my dynamic text field, dot scroll, and I'm going to put plus equals 1. And this is going to cause it to advance by one line at a time. If I was to change that to 5, it would sure enough jump 5 lines at a time. Okay, at this point I'm ready to close this, and I've got my down arrow working, and now let me just create an up arrow. Let me show you an easy way to do that. I'm going to simply I've got this selected, and I'm going to hold the Alt button down and the Shift button, and I'm going to simply drag that up, and that's going to create a copy of that button. Okay, at which point I'm going to come along and come up here to Modify, and I'm going to go to Transform, and I'll go ahead and flip that vertically. Now what I need to do is that button is selected, is come up here to Window, and I'm going to go to Actions, and now rather than going +1, I'm going to go -1, at which point I'll go ahead and close my action window here. Okay, we're ready to try this one more time, and to do that I'll come up here to Control, and I'll go to Test Movie. Okay, sure enough, it's loading the information in. Let's go ahead and check the navigation buttons. And my down arrow is working great. And let's try the up arrow, and that's working great too. One last thing here before I end this video is let me show you how to get in here and format this text just a little bit. I'll go ahead and close my Flash Movie. And at this point, I'm going to open up that file. So I'll open up Windows Explorer. And I'm going to go ahead and just simply double click on this file that I'm trying to include. And let me come in here and just mark this up just a little bit. I'm going to put a B in angle brackets, and if you've done much with HTML, that's simply a boldface. And I'm going to come after the word feel. I'll go ahead and close my boldface, and let me go ahead and put a BR, which is a line break. Then I'll come down here just a few places, and I'll throw in a little more HTML here. LI stands for list item, and one more time right here I'll put an LI for list item. Okay, at this point I'll go ahead and close this file. File, save, and I'll go ahead and close it. Minimize Internet Explorer or Windows Explorer, and I'll come back to Flash, and at this point I'll come up here to Control, and I'll choose Test Movie. Okay, great. And all I've really shown you is notice how this is now in boldface. I've got my line break after there, and if I scroll on down here a little bit, I can see I now have a couple list items. Well, hopefully in this video you learned a little bit about how to create dynamic text fields. I'll catch you in the next video. Thank you.